Continuing with our tier 2 discussion on how is real estate in these cities performing, today our focus is on West India. Cities that we are covering, Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar of course, Indore, Nagpur, Nasik, Vadodara, and we can't forget Pune. Are these towns holding up and how well? Joining me today, Sameer Sinha, Chairman IGBC Ahmedabad Chapter and Managing Director of Savvy Infrastructure. He joins us from Ahmedabad. Ashutosh Limai, Head Research and Real Estate Intelligence Services, JLL India from our Mumbai studio. Lalit Kumar Jain, Chairman and Managing Director, Kumar Urban Development Limited. He joins us from Pune. Sameer Jasuja, Founder and MD of Prop Equity, here with me in the Delhi studios. Now, before I go across to my guests, here are some of the key highlights of the data we've received for these cities from Prop Equity. Let's begin with the weighted average price, including resale prices between 2013 to 2015. Now, surprisingly, only Pune and Nagpur have given annualized returns higher than inflation, which is at 7% and 6% respectively. Rest of the cities have not even seen inflation-linked price rise for the housing stock in these cities. Unsold stock has fallen in almost all tier 2 cities of West India except for Pune and Ahmedabad, but the rise here is nothing to worry about. It's very, very marginal. New launches have fallen across all cities. There's not a single one where new launches haven't fallen. Guess the writing on the wall is clear. Till demand catches up with supply, it's better not to launch unless you're sure you can sell the product. Let me go to Sameer Sinha first. Sameer, Ahmedabad, would you say that, are you disappointed with the way the market is behaving? It's never been an investor-driven market. It's not a runaway market, but the last 2 years, it's not even given you inflation-linked increase in prices.
You're absolutely right, Manisha. Am I disappointed? No. I think we kind of anticipated this, and we have been prepared for this kind of a scenario. But we are very bullish on the future. I think this is the first time, probably in the history of India, that the government is playing such a major role, such a proactive role, and is looking at urbanization as an opportunity and not as a challenge with the kind of outlays that they've planned for the next 5 years with the several missions. So that is one big factor that we are bullish on. Ahmedabad, you're right, it has been kind of slow. It has been a market which one has to tread very carefully. But I think we are now preparing for better times ahead of us.
Sameer Jasuja, so as you've been saying, isn't it Ahmedabad's a victim of good governance and also probably good infrastructure? Real estate prices don't rise there because infrastructure is good and land's accessible, projects are accessible, so prices are muted.
You're absolutely right, Manisha. And on top of that, Ahmedabad or Gujarat for that matter has been more of an end user market. For the longest time, and ever since we started the show, Ahmedabad has been, with respect to price appreciation, been one of the poorest performers, which is in some respects a very good thing for the market because it creates more end user demand, it creates real demand, prices don't run away, and then prices don't have to come down and people don't have to get stuck in real estate. Also with respect to Ahmedabad and Gujarat, what has been seen is that execution has not been as much of a challenge as it has been with respect to other cities, especially investor driven markets or where developers have sold a lot and they can't execute going forward. That is why you also see the rise in unsold stock because you have new launches still happening there. When there are going to be new launches, there is going to be higher amount of unsold stock. Whereas what you see in other cities is the unsold stock is going down because new launches are not happening and very few sales are happening, which is leading to unsold stock coming down, which is slightly good for the market. But I would say net, Ahmedabad has been a good market. Its absorption levels have been quite consistent over the last 3 years because the prices have not run away. And it has been a slowdown because there's a pan-India slowdown, but the slowdown has been lesser than compared to other big cities in the country.
All right, so if I look at the numbers, actually, Ashutosh Limai, Ahmedabad seems to be a better market than Vadodara. Vadodara, in fact, hasn't done well at all. New launches have just, it's not a very big market, but then it's not that far behind Ahmedabad either. Seems like clearly between Vadodara and Ahmedabad, would you say that future market Ahmedabad would be a better one to bet with?
I think so. I think Ahmedabad has a much diversified economic base, and being very close to the capital city of Gandhinagar in one direction and the emerging big industrial center of Sanand on the other direction, I think Ahmedabad has a lot of promise. Also, AUDA as a planning agency has done a remarkably good job. So I think Ahmedabad, with land parcels opening up infrastructure ahead of its time, and the kind of variety it offers in terms of typology, in terms of apartments, row houses, bungalows, plotted developments, and it has got that scale, the minimum threshold that one requires to do well as a real estate industry. So I think Ahmedabad is better poised than Vadodara. Having said that, Vadodara has got its own plus points as well. Now, Vadodara attracts as a district place the rich rural areas around it as a real estate destination. So the scale is very much different. The economic base is different. So I think when you compare Ahmedabad with Vadodara, Ahmedabad clearly emerges as a leader and ahead of Vadodara.
Okay, let me ask the final question on these markets, the Gujarat markets that we are considering today, to Sameer Sinha. Sameer Sinha, you talked about the economic base. Now, it just seems that Ahmedabad and Vadodara or any other city in Gujarat isn't being able to actually catch up with either Gurugram, now we have a new name for a millennium city in the NCR, and of course, or Bangalore or Chennai and Hyderabad. I mean, does that worry you as developers that IT pool, which actually makes a city dynamic from a real estate perspective and office space absorption perspective, there's no, I mean, it's just not in sight for these two cities, Ahmedabad or Vadodara?
True. You're absolutely right, Manisha. I think we have missed the IT bus. But we realized that a long time ago, and I don't think we are even focusing on that anymore. Okay. I think there is a lot of scope for overall development. Ahmedabad, like I totally agree with Sameer as well as with Ashutosh, Ahmedabad has been a decently robust market, which is kind of self-sustained. And there is a lot of potential for growth all over Gujarat because there are several good economic centers in Gujarat. Unlike other states, we have a Surat, we have a Baroda, we have a Rajkot. Even the smaller cities like Anand and Gondal and Morbi are also doing decently well. And that is another reason why migration is not as bad. And hence, I think because, like I was mentioning before, the initiatives that the government is going to take over the next few years, things like Amrit Mission, things like Housing for All, the benefit will come in a big way to these tier 2, tier 3 cities where the housing, for example, Housing for All, if you're looking at affordable housing, it is only the cities like Ahmedabad which will attract MIG as well as LIG in affordable housing, where we have up to 60 square meter to build. And that kind of potential, that kind of development will lead to very nice, organized, decent development and will not create slums like cities like Bombay or other cities are creating. So I think we have a good future ahead of us. We are very, very bullish on it. And the scenario in Gujarat is pretty conducive in every respect. Okay,
so you're saying the quality of housing that you will get, the quality of living that you will get is going to be very good in Ahmedabad, Vadodara and some of the other cities you mentioned, Surat, Rajkot, etc. Sameer, let me just come to prices because, you know, in India, the problem is that even if I buy for end use, I do like to see my asset grow. Do you think that, 2% for Ahmedabad blended rates for sale and resale in the toughest market, do you think this figure could at least become both for Ahmedabad and Vadodara going forward, at least inflation plus? Is it a possibility?
Yes, I think it will. Like Ashutosh was mentioning before, there are still new projects being launched. Not as many as earlier, but there's still, that really indicates that there is still potential business that is happening. Transactions have slowed down, but there's still good transactions happening. The 2-3 areas that need to come up are probably retail and office spaces, but there is decent demand in good residential location, good residential projects in good locations. Prices are stable, which is not a bad thing for the consumer as well as for the developer because it is a user-based market as opposed to an investor-based market, which we always like to see. Okay. And I think things will look up.
All right. Ashutosh Limai, on the pricing front, do you think Ahmedabad, Vadodara have the potential to give you at least 6 to 7% annualized returns over the next couple of years? From where they are, the base is already very, very low.
I think they will. I think the appreciation or the returns to investors who are very few in these markets anyway. But as you said, as a home owner, I would like to see price appreciate. I think it will be better than the inflation rate. So we do not expect a very steep climb of prices, which is good for real estate industry there. It's a sustainable growth. But I think it will be better than the inflation rates in the next 2 years.
Sameer? inflation plus returns at
I
least?
have a little bit of a confusion here because I think the inflation rates of the country last released were about 2 to 3%.
Last release, but Sameer, we're looking at 2013 and 14 data. So if you're looking at that time, then your average inflation in those 2 years, and I have done a little bit of homework, was about 4.5 to 5%.
Okay. So at least I've got you down by 1% or 2. But more importantly, I definitely feel that right now we are going probably through the worst time in real estate. Investors in all markets are bound to come back at some point in time or the other. We still feel that another year to 2 years of pain is going to continue. So if you're talking to me about the next 2 years, I won't be surprised if we continue at the same pace and same rate. Certain micro markets within these cities will do much better. But if you look at on a broad base and look at overall Ahmedabad, you may still continue to see 3 to 4%.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move to Pune now. Lalit Kumar Jain has been hearing by patiently. Now, this is a city which, of course, is now in the spotlight. It's one of the shortlisted cities to become the smart city. And Lalit Kumar Jain, your city has a curious problem. You've run out of grade A office space. So there is a captive IT demand. Yet, when I look at the numbers for residential, they've just not been very exciting for the last 2 years. Why is it so?
See, what has happened with Pune is smaller product on outskirts have sold very well. So those are budget products, and city products or IT catchment products have not sold so much. However, as rightly pointed out by you, a very cyclical phenomena that last 4 years there was no new office supply. So suddenly we see shortage of supply in the market and a lot of consumption in IT space. Now this consumption, so I think last year was a record leasing year, and this is going to now kickstart the residential sales. However, I think this is important to note that state government has come out with data that their total revenue through stamp duty and registration in Pune has gone up. So if that is an indication, it's indicating that there is consumption, though the product has changed. So outskirts like small ticket size product have sold very well in Pune. Also, Pune, as you rightly pointed out, has at least kept pace with the inflation. So Pune is quite robust market, I would say. It has not only IT, but very sound industrial base, also education. So it's a very balanced real estate market and hence very stable.
Okay, Sameer Jasuja, Pune now. I mean, this is a market we were so excited about. It also held up actually very, very strongly when you had the meltdown starting in NCR, MMR followed. Pune held on. It was not a market which cracked in any big way. There were no big dips that we saw in any of the micro markets of Pune. But now it seems that there's definitely sale in the well-priced homes at about 40 to 50 lakhs. But overall, this is also a market which seems to be huge in supply and not that big on demand.
Well, Manisha, if I look at the data, I look at it slightly differently. If you start comparing Pune to the other tier 1 cities, because Pune is a city that can really be compared to tier 1 cities in terms of supply, absorption, price trends. If you look at it from that point of view,
calling it tier 2 itself, you never know where to place Pune, isn't it? Is it a tier 1 or a tier 2? It's just kind of stuck in between.
So Pune continues to be one of my favorite cities. For example, if you were to compare it to the other tier 1 cities and tier 2 cities, absorption levels have fallen down by 40 to 50% in certain cases. But if you look at Pune, because it is such a resilient and a defensive city, because it has IT on one side, manufacturing on the other side, education, it's a retirement capital, fantastic weather. All the points are conducive for Pune to continue to do well. Yes, look at Pan India, and if you start doing an apples to apples comparison, Pune and perhaps Hyderabad will emerge as the best performing cities in the country today. So I'm looking at from that point of view, 50,000 plus units getting absorbed on a year-on-year basis, where cities like Noida, which had 1.5 lakh units of absorption and come down to 25,000 or even higher than Mumbai for that matter. I would say Pune is a good performing market.
In fact, Pune is the only market out of that list of 6 that we have, is the only market where absorption has gone up from 2013 to 2014 to 2015. So you had 51,000, almost 52,000, and now it's 53,500 in terms of units which have been absorbed. So Ashutosh Limai, I mean, Sameer has always been extremely gung-ho about both Pune and Hyderabad. Would you say that Pune is definitely one of the markets to watch out for going forward as well?
Yes, I do think so as well. I think Pune had a very good performance in the last few years. This stabilizing effect was on the cards because the prices had grown very steadily, very consistently, when other cities in India were not seeing any price movement, in fact negative price movement in some micro markets. It kept on selling very well at those price points as well. So there was a time that we expected a stability to come in, and it has come now. Having said that, I do think that Pune is a very sustainable market, and with a diversified economic base, and we have a very strong preference from the defense and services as the retirement home as well. So the demand is not lacking at all. I think it's a short phase where we will see prices stable and sales also stable. Going forward, I think it should pick up again.
But both the traffic situation, which has now become a mess, Lalit Kumar Jain, in Pune. In your city, last time it took me 2 hours to reach a certain destination. And I realized that if there's something which beats MMR and NCR, it's perhaps Pune. Maybe even Bangalore, equivalent to that. And the other thing is airport. I mean, infrastructure doesn't happen overnight. So are you facing the heat of lack of infrastructure as developers and for citizens?
Well, that's true. Pune not being capital city is not a priority for state government or even central government, though Pune always emerges in top when it comes to newer activity, smart city or such phenomenon. But because it's not a capital city, the actual capital spent on infrastructure is much low. And that really makes Pune suffer. Otherwise, Pune, in 1992, I had said in my Pune Vision 50-year plan that it will become a global destination because of its sheer human resource power. So it still has that potential.
Okay, gentlemen, and this one, of course, is if you've got other cities, we pretty much run out of time, but then we've got Nagpur, Nashik left in this part of Maharashtra or in this part of the world, West India. Lalitji, anything about Nagpur and Nashik? I mean, anything which stands out for these two cities, or do you think that they're going to continue to perform in a low single-digit number, whether it comes to demand or to price?
See, Nagpur now is poised to go, for a big growth. Of course, Chief Minister as well as Mr. Gadkari, the Union Transport Minister, is also from Nagpur, and Mihan is the key area where job growth can happen like exponential. Nasik and Nagpur both are very established industrial cities, and there is good work ethic over there. And both the cities have huge potential to grow.
All right.
I think with this coming time and Make in India, etc., Baroda, Nasik, Nagpur, or such cities which has very established industrial activity will definitely see a lot of growth. And
Okay.
I'm quite optimistic about this.
Fair enough. So Nagpur, I think you picked out, and it seems to be that you're betting on that market. Ashutosh Limai, between these markets, if you were to take a pick, Nagpur and Nashik, which one would it be?
A difficult question. Why? Because Nagpur is going to be a beneficiary of the post GST situation, where being a centralized location in the country, the warehousing industry will find its base in Nagpur. Also, we do hope that Mihan now picks up pace. It didn't take pace at all in the last few years, but now we expect that to perform well. Nasik, on the other hand, looks more like a residential destination unless it revives its industrial base. It has 3 MIDC estates, and we do have a certain degree of industrial activity, but it needs to improve on that if it has to compete with Nagpur. So I think Nagpur has its nose ahead of Nasik at the moment.
And the numbers are also looking bigger. It's a bigger residential market, isn't it, Sameer?
Yes, absolutely. So my view is that I think Nagpur is the, I would bet on Nagpur over Nashik. I have great hope on Mihan and the infrastructure that's coming around in the Nagpur area. Plus, we've witnessed that there has been still some investor demand over there left, which is always good for the market.
Wow. Okay. So that's actually interesting. 3 points converging on that market, Nagpur. It's one to watch out for. Gentlemen, we've completely run out of time, so we will give a miss to Indore today because I don't think we'll be able to do justice to this market, and it's a very interesting residential market. So we'll keep it for another day. Lalit Kumar Jain, Sameer Sinha, Ashutosh Limai and Sameer Jasuja, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today on this discussion. Well, all economic indicators seem to be coming together to a housing revival. Inflation is down. GDP growth is expected to stay above 7% for India, which makes it the fastest growing in the world, rather. Interest rates are likely to come down as well. But the magic in real estate is missing. Let's hope 2016 will be that turnaround year we've all been waiting for. Goodbye and thanks for joining me.